Hi guys, it's RBB. Welcome to part two of creating our snowman scene. Now, if you go back and look at part one, we set up our scene according to our previs and decided we were going to make a little snowman standing outside of kind of his igloo, and then we'll figure out what we want to do in the background. So we set all this stuff up, we named all of our stuff, we made a new project, all that kind of good stuff. So what we're going to do in part two is we're going to work on some details of the snowman, kind of in real time. And I think in the next probably video or two, I might do sort of a speed video of working on some other stuff, because otherwise these videos can get quite long. Because you can be working on these models for, hours at a sitting. And I certainly try to keep these videos around, 25 minutes or less. So I think in 25 minutes, we can probably get some good features of our snowman done. And if it gets kind of long, you can at least see the procedure. So you can do this on your own and come back in part three. All right. So of course we want to set our project and we want to go to YouTube snowman noise. Okay. So what we're going to do today is work on this guy. Now, all we did was we quick made some primitives, and I keep calling this a sphere. So it is a sphere. I keep calling it a cylinder. It's a sphere. So if I say cylinder, just, sometimes in the edit, I catch it and remember to say, that's a sphere, but I'm going to call it a ball. Okay. These spheres, and we named them Snowbutt, Snowbelly, and Snow Noggin, and then we grouped them together and made the snowman body. Okay. So let's go ahead and adjust this, because this is a little primitive in the terms of like basically too simple. I'm going to grab this guy to start with. And I think right off the bat, I think I'm going to squish it down a little bit, because if you've ever made a snowman, they're never perfect, right? And I also think I'll do soft select, and maybe I'll grab the vertices, grab these top guys and just move it down a little bit. Now I think my area of effect here is too big. So I'm going to lower that. There we go. I think I lowered it to the percent number 5 here. So now it'll help me squish a little bit. See, it's not squishing exactly like proportionally, but squishing it. It's got some weight. Okay. The other thing we could do is we could do that to the bottom part too, like there's, some gravity and he's sitting his heavy butt on the ground right there. All right, let's move on to the middle guy, to the belly. And same thing, we could grab some of the vertices and squish it a little bit, just so it's not perfect. Maybe we scooch them over just a little bit. It just would look cooler if it's not exactly perfect. And ditto for the head. Now we're in our scene cam, which if you recall is locked. So when I hold Alt and left mouse, it's not doing anything. So that's a problem, right? So we want to switch our point of view to our perspective camera so that we can drive around and look at our stuff up close. All right, so this head, I'm going to squish it a little bit. And I think the whole head in general needs to be a little bit bigger, because we want this guy to have some character. And nobody says that this has to follow an exact rule, like, no, this must be smaller than this. Not sure who that voice is, but you know what I'm saying. Okay, so now this guy has a little character already, right? He's not exactly 3 perfect spheres. He's got some character. And if we wanted to, we could, I'm going to tell you ways that you can make this more complex if you wanted to do it. I'm going to keep it fairly simple. And like I always tell my students, if you want to go above and beyond, please do. So one of the things we could do if we wanted to is join these guys together and sort of like bevel this edge so it was sort of smooth. But that would take a little bit of planning with these edges and stuff, and creating a chamfer between them. So we're not going to do that, but you can. So if that's something you're like, oh yeah, that sounds cool, then by all means, give it a try. All right, so let's say, let's model together his hat. I think the hat is probably one of the first things that we'll work on. Now, I think logically, of course, the hat would be made out of a cylinder, and I actually do mean cylinder this time. Okay, it will be made out of a cylinder like this, right? Like a top hat. But as we've discovered, it's just as easy to make a nice, better modeled guy out of a cube, so you could do that also if you wish. I'm going to go ahead and keep it out of this cylinder just to keep things fairly simple. Um, I don't really need too many divisions, but here in the attribute editor, when this little guy is born, I think I might divide the height maybe once or twice just in case. And I definitely want to subdivide the cap because we're going to do something cool. We're going to fix the geometry a little bit. Okay. So we've divided the cap. In fact, let's go ahead and give that 2 divisions. Okay, there we go. Because we're going to fix that pole if you guys don't already know how to do that. Okay. So that looks lovely. Let's name our cylinder. This is top hat. All right. I think I'm going to use these edges that I just made. I'm going to grab my edge. Oh, it's yellow. Let's turn off the soft select because I don't want soft select. I double click to grab that whole loop and I moved it up to the top to act as a holding line, right? A holding edge. So this guy now, I'm going to move down here like this. Now, not as a holding edge, but I'm going to give myself where I want the brim of the hat to pull out from. Okay, because probably this hat is made out of one piece of material, right? One big piece of felt that's all squished and steamed and all that kind of stuff, or silk or whatever they are. Okay, so I want to pull a brim out of this. If you want to make this out of 2 cylinders, like we talked about the other day, and just make a flat cylinder and group them together, that's fine too. All right, I'm going to grab my faces. Okay. And I'm going to check and make sure I didn't grab anything extraneous here. Okay, looks pretty good. And extrude. Pulling this blue guy out, it's going to extrude this face. And you can make this hat as big as you want, right? You can make like a big old sombrero looking thing, or I don't know what kind of top hats there are, but maybe like this. We could also divide this if we wanted to. So it has 1 division, but we could give it 2 if we wanted to, just to have more geometry to play with. Okay, so now that I did that, I have the basic shape of my top hat. And this is what I think I want to do. Now I think I want to turn soft select back on. And I'm going to make this hat bigger, just so my soft select works a little bit better. Okay, so I'm going to turn on my soft select. Now I've got it at 5, so that may not be enough. And I'm going to go to my vertex. And yeah, that needs to be a little bit bigger. Put this back to 10. Let's see. I think that's good. Okay, so I'm going to grab these 2 vertices right here on the edge, and I'm going to just pull this up a little bit. Okay. Now, some of you may be thinking, can I do that to both sides at one time? Yes, there are, of course, mirror tools, symmetry tools, things like that. But we're not going to do that right now because I want to show you how to do it. We can always find the tricks and stuff later, but I want to show you how to do it from like the basics first. Okay, I'm going to grab this face. What I'm just basically trying to do is give this a little bit more organic of a shape. Okay, not like a cowboy hat or anything, but just a little bit more organic. And I'm sure some purist out there is going to be like, top hats do not have curvy edges. You're so stupid. I don't care. My guy does because he's been wearing this forever because he inherited it from his grandfather. His grandfather, Frosty. So what do you know? All right, I'm going to turn soft select off for a minute while I model a little more. I think I want to change this so it's not quite so perfect also. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, of course, you could use the insert edge loop tool, or you could use the this guy that's called something that I forget, the multi-cut tool. Okay, and I'm holding down control, so it gives me these options. And I'm going to give it a loop here and a loop here. And I think I do want a holding edge right here, so I'll go ahead and give that one. And let's give this a holding edge, and let's give this bottom part a holding edge. There we go. All right, I think I'm done doing that. So Q, quit that. All right, looking pretty good. All right. So yes, of course, we're going to wind up smoothing this and whatnot, but we want to model it as well as we can before we start adding divisions and bevels and things like that. So I'm going to grab this edge loop right here, and I'm going to hit R, just bring it in a little bit, and maybe the opposite here. Maybe I'm going to pooch this one out just a little bit. Now, if I want this to be even smoother, I could add more divisions, but remember that I'm probably going to smooth the whole hat. So right now I can be a little more, I don't know, sort of, not obnoxious isn't the word, but aggressive, maybe. Be more aggressive, be aggressive, be aggressive. All right, I'm going to turn on soft select and grab this guy and just squish it a little bit. So it's just not perfect, right? All right. Now, I told you I was going to show you how to fix this pole on the top, and here we go. If we didn't do it before, I can't remember, and I'm not going to stop and go back and look. So we'll just be a refresher if we've already done it. I'm going to go to this little brush tool right here, which if you recall, or if I just pretended or dreamed that I told you how to do this, when you grab this brush tool and I grab a component, like I said, I wanted the edges, right? This brush tool, as long as that center part goes over the normal, which is in the center of each of these faces, it will select those. So see, like if I wanted to select these guys up here and I didn't get near the center of the face, it wouldn't select it. Now, if I hold B and scroll to the side, I can make this bigger and I can get lots of things at one time. Or I can hold B and make this smaller. Okay, if I need to, like, say, not you guys, I'm holding control to take those away. Okay, so I'm going to undo all of that, and I'm going to choose my faces and get rid of all of you guys. I could make my brush bigger, but this way, okay. You know what? We're going to do this. No edges. Okay, so I really just want these guys, not that edge loop. And now I went a little bit crazy, so let's make sure we don't have any other edges like we do right there. Right? Don't want that guy. Got any other weird ones? Okay, no, we just have these. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I've got these guys. I'm going to focus in on them right here, and I'm going to delete them. Now, oh my God, you're so crazy. You just made a 20-sided face. Everything is ruined. We're going to fix that. So we're going to grab our multi-cut tool again, okay? And we are going to, let's see where the front of the hat is, because that makes a little more sense. I think that-ish is the front. So I'm going to cut straight across. I clicked on that vertice, and it highlights this vertice. Boop. Cut that guy straight across. Nice. Okay. Oops, I just randomly zoomed out because I hit focused on the whole world here. Okay. And now I'm going to cut across this way. Okay. And hit enter. Now you can see we've already cut this down. Now instead of a 20-sided face, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7-sided faces. Well, we can fix that. Let's divide this some more. Okay, now you can see we're cutting this down, right? So now if we cut across right here, and oops, look, I made an extra one right there. Don't want that. We'll make sure you're on the vertice. Cut across to here. And cut across to here. And cut across to here. Now we can check and see how we doing. Now we're doing a little bit better, right? We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-sided faces in a bunch of places. That's a 4-sided face. Okay, so here we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, that's no bueno. Let's cut this guy in half. And this guy in half. Now you can check them all. This one looks funny, but it's 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Everything is a 4-sided face. Now we could sort of try and smooth this out and make it a little bit better, but I'm going to show you another little trick. I'm going to grab my faces right here. I'm going to grab my brush, make sure I get over the normals and grab all of those guys. And there's another little tool that if I hold down Shift and right click, so what I did, whoopsie. So I hold down Shift and I right click. Right here is called circulize, which is a crazy word. All right. And it's sort of evened them out for me. Nice. And I can change some things. I can change the, I can change the offset, I can change the radial offset. Okay. Maybe smooth it out a little bit. All right. But there we go. That looks pretty good. All right. Now you may say, oh, well, you got one on the bottom to do too, but watch this. The bottom of this guy, let's focus on this guy. The bottom of this guy is a hat, right? Well, the top of it is a hat too. So do we want to fix the pole here? No, I actually am going to just get rid of this because it's a hat. So I'm going to grab my brush tool again and make sure I'm on my faces. And I'm going to select all of these faces. And I'm just holding down left click and sort of painting over, making sure I hit all the normal. So I got all those guys. Let's look around, make sure we didn't get anything else weird. Oh, we did. We don't want those. Control would be like, not you. Okay. That's all we want, right? Perfect. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to go back to my pointy tool there. I'm going to extrude. And I'm going to extrude these faces and shrink them in a little bit. Okay. And I think maybe I'll even move them up a little bit, like we're sort of denting in the hat. And I'm going to extrude again. And I'm going to push this guy up into the hat. Now we might have cut through our hat. Yes, we did. Okay, let's do this. Let's make that smaller because we don't really actually care about the inside of the hat. Okay, so I've pushed it up inside the hat as far as I feel like it. And now I'm going to delete it, which does several things. One, it gets rid of a number of faces. And two, it gets rid of that pole, right? So now we have this lovely hat made out of just quads. Awesome. So our next step would be to kind of smooth this guy out. So I'm going to go back to my object, right? And we could bevel. We could take our time and go and choose each bevel. But let's see what happens if we just grab all the edges and smooth it. I'm going to grab everything and smooth. All right. Because we have quads and because we took our time to model nicely, right? That looks pretty good. And when we click off of this guy, we see we don't have any weird pinching or weird triangles or gray spots or anything because it's good. That guy looks nice. Now, if we decide like, man, that brim's a little beefy, that's a little thick, I'm going to step backwards. I'm going to Control Z a couple times. And I think I'll grab this bottom part. The best way to do this. I'm going to grab this edge loop. Grab this edge loop and shrink it in a little bit. And this one too, that edge loop. I don't mind that it's like a little bit thicker here, but I could, because it's just, I think it makes it a little more organic looking, but I could go through and skinny up this whole thing. Let's go ahead and do this one too. There we go. All right, now grab all my edges, smooth. Oh yeah, I like that a little bit better. Awesome sauce. Okay. Nice. All right, there's my top hat. Okay, so now we can try our top hat on our dude here. Now, rather than try to figure this out in perspective, where is he? Let's go to our orthographic views. Let's go to the top. It'll be a little easier to sort of aim. So you can see our hat's real big. Let's position it. It's like a UFO. Okay, and now I'm going to go back to my perspective. I know I'm right above this guy. It's gigantic. R to scale it down. Move him down onto his noggin. F to focus. All right. Let's try scooch your head over. All right. Now we had sort of decided there was a front to this hat, and I think this was the front. So I'm going to rotate this hat to face what I'm sort of considering to be the front. Now, how do I know where the front is? Let's go through the point of view of our scene cam. All right, there it is. Now we could tilt this at a little bit of a jaunty angle because he is a stylish gentleman. It's nice. All right, I'm going to go back to perspective. Now you can jazz this up even more. Let's say we want to put a little bit of a like a ribbon around it or a band around it so he could stick a feather in his cap or something. I don't know. To me, the most logical shape to do that would, of course, be like a cylinder that we would make hollow and fit around it. But I'd want to add a little thickness to it. And we already have a shape like that. And it's here. If you right click on this, uh, I can't draw a blank on that name, and we want pipe. Okay, so this pipe is a cylinder that has a hole already cut out of it. So we could, in the attribute editor, already go to this guy and make its thickness thinner. Let's make it like 0.1. Okay, it's real thin. We could make its height a little bit shorter. We could subdivide the height. Let's do that. I'm going to subdivide the height. Now keep this guy in mind too, because this would also be a good start for making a scarf. So let's put this guy in place here. And then we can kind of mold him to fit the hat. Now, did what I just said don't do, and I'm trying to put it in place in perspective. That's a little bit big. Okay, so that's about right. Oh, now this may be cutting into the hat a little bit, and I may or may not care. Make that a little bit bigger. Get smaller, tilt it a little bit. This is why you would eventually you don't want to watch me do every single bit of this because this could take a really long time. So I can tweak this guy, get him totally in place here. And then I can use get him as close as I can to sort of in place. And then I could use my vertices and stuff to make it fit the hat a little bit better. So I'm going to grab my vertices. I'm going to grab these guys, move them up a little bit. Remember, we're going to smooth this later, so it's okay if it's a little chunky right now. I could also just move the bottom ones to fit the bottom of the hat. That probably went all the way through, did it? Yep. Right? I could just grab each vertice like this and just move it up to the bottom and move this guy down to where he touches the hat, right? We could be as precise as we want to. Now, there's always going to be some space, right? This isn't like I was going to say a space hat, like something that had to be perfect, right? Let's grab this guy. Whoopsie. Let's grab this vertice, move it down. This guy, move it down. Maybe I'll get both of these guys and move it down. So whatever, we can model this however we want to. I make a lot of noises when I do this. So you can always tell animators and stuff because they're always making noises and stuff when they draw. All right. So I would say we're kind of getting close enough at this point. Okay. So close enough. Probably needs to be a little smaller. Scooch over. A little smaller. All right. So let's say, I don't know if I'm going to like this at all. I might just delete the whole thing, but let's give it a try. So I'm going to go back to my modeling toolkit and grab all of my, nope, I'm going to grab all of my edges and smooth it. Okay. Now that's pretty thick. It's a little beefy for like a hat ribbon. Okay. But maybe I'll leave it for now and we'll decide if we like it later. Because right now, I don't know, maybe it's kind of cool. Now we could, of course, go back and soft select some things here. If we did soft select and some vertices, we could just make this even slightly more organic. Get that down to 5. Maybe even smaller. How about 2? There we go. This up a little. And we can just make this all like a little more jaunty. That's the word for the day, jaunty. Freaky dinky these guys. All right. So yeah, I hate that less. It's important to hate things less. All right. We're going to call that good enough for now. So we modeled something together. See, we modeled something together. We modeled this hat together. And going back to your own previs, do I want this to look kind of realistic? Is there a style I'm going for? This is a little cartoony, right? Maybe I like that. Maybe that's good. You know what I want to do to this hat? If this is his front, I'm going to grab the vertices here and move them back. There you go. Just a little bit. Just a little bit. Okay. Little bit of blooming luck. There we go. There you go. Groovy hat. Okay. So there we've modeled something together, and you can see how we started with the basic shapes, and then we block modeled it how we wanted to, and then we refined it, and then went back into refining even further. Now this guy I don't think has the pipe. This is called hat ribbon. Now, at this point, I could keep things really clean. I assume this hat ribbon is always going to be part of the hat. So I could grab both of these guys, Control G, and this is the hat group. Now, later on, I could have the hat group and the face group and the whatever group all in the snowman. So groups in groups. All right, we're at 26 minutes. That might be enough. But what I'm going to challenge you to do is after you make something like a hat, any kind of hat you want, it could be a baseball hat, it could be a Santa hat, it could be any kind of hat. After a beret, that'd be kind of cute. I want you to try making the carrot nose. Now, you're probably going to say that the carrot might start out best as being a cone, right? Maybe, except that the cone, of course, is very pointy, and we would need some edge loops to kind of make it less pointy. So depending on how cartoony and fake you want this carrot to be, you might actually want to start with a cylinder, right? Because then you could squish down the one end and, make some ridges and things like, let's look at a picture of a carrot. So here's a couple different kinds of carrots. And depending on the carrot you want, is it like a long, crazy, pointy carrot? Does he look like a witch nose? Is it a little tiny baby carrot? So the cone may not be, back to Maya, the cone may not be the most logical shape. But if you want to make it as simple as possible, well, boom shakalaka, there's your nose. Bob's your uncle, there's your nose. Oh, look how far away that was. So I'm in my top. Make noises. Oh, that's pretty big. And shove it in his head. There we go. All right. So if you want to keep it simple, boom, Bob's your uncle, there's your nose. All right. But if you want to model this more, or you want to curve this a little bit or make it, more cartoony and soft and things like that, then you would take your time and model it more. So my challenge to you is before we meet next time to try and make at least one item, like a hat or a scarf, or maybe he's wearing a boot or something. Start with the basic shapes. Start with the most logical things. Use all the tools we figured out, adding edge loops, smoothing, extruding, all that kind of good stuff. And when we come back next time, I think I'm going to do sort of a speed model type thing and maybe work on some of the egg glue or maybe some more of the snowman. We'll see. All right, long enough. Hope that was helpful. You guys practice, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.